All right, next up, we have Nikhil, who is the Chief Commercial Officer at Archer. Now, just this morning, Archer and Palantir actually announced a partnership for Archer to leverage Foundry and AIP to scale aircraft manufacturing. Let's take it over to Jack and Nikhil.
Excellent. Nikhil, welcome to Backstage Pass. Thank you so much for joining us. We just had Anduril on stage. We're now kind of going from one warp speed cohort to another. I would love to hear more about you guys are at the bleeding edge of electrified aviation, right? You're reinventing this industry as a whole. I think we've seen a lot of turbulence, pardon the pun, in this industry over the last few weeks and months. I think it's only going to show that this industry is moving so fast, you need to stay agile, right? You need to stay flexible. So what does it mean for Archer to be building with Palantir and warp speed?
Yeah, well look, Archer is building electric air taxis. And so we've talked about building overall the future of aviation. In order to do that, we think aviation must be three things. It's got to be ubiquitous, it's got to be autonomous, and it's got to be all electric. And so to do that, we've got three business lines. The first is an all-electric air taxi. This is an air taxi we'll deploy in cities all over the world to help decongest cities. The second is our defense business that we're building in partnership with Anduril, and this will serve the US government and our allies. And then the third is software. It's a software platform that underpins both of those, and I think that third platform is why this Palantir partnership is so important. You know, if you look at just the United States as an example, roughly 1% of Americans take a flight every single day, and you're looking at about 45,000 flights that take place in the national airspace. If Archer achieves its goals, then I hope in 10 years, we will have 10x the number of flights that take place.
Incredible.
But in order to achieve that, it's very, very clear, to your point, that the US aviation software system today is failing us. It's already bursting at the seams, and it simply cannot keep up. And so together, I hope that we can use AI to build the future of aviation, build the future of those systems, and then also tactically work on various aspects of what we're doing, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's route planning, whether it's thinking about how to deploy this to the customer.
That's incredible, yeah. And you mentioned there the idea of if you're trying to build this like bleeding edge business on these antiquated, old, out-of-date systems, right? You're immediately being constrained by your own software, constrained by architecture. So nowhere is that more important than your work in defense, as you mentioned there briefly. What does it mean for Archer to be empowering the warfighter, empowering pilots in the military, and how does that kind of make an influence on your operational decisions?
Yeah, well, what we've talked about is on the commercial side, it's going to be Midnight, which is an all-electric piloted aircraft. But on the military side, that vehicle will be a variant of Midnight. It's going to be AI from day one. It'll be AI powered from day one.
Wow.
And in order to do that, you've got to have systems on board the aircraft. That's where we're working with Anduril. Then you've also got to have systems that are communicating between aircraft and between aircraft and the folks that are operating them. Outside of the aircraft. And so as we think about, and then the third piece of that is you've got to have manufacturing that's not only coordinated with Archer, but it's coordinated with our partner Anduril. And so as we've talked about, you know, Anduril being a core customer of Palantir, and then Archer now being a partner of Palantir, you can imagine the three of us working very, very closely together
100%.
When it comes to manufacturing, when it comes to synchronizing requirements, when it comes to just communicating between the manufacturing teams, whether it's our factory in Covington, Georgia, or Anduril's factory in Ohio. I think Palantir is going to be really key to underpinning both of those things.
That's so powerful, and it brings us back to that concept of ontology, right? When you have a shared ontology, not just internally between business functions, but also between partners, you're enabling a level of like connected manufacturing, connected industry across the value chain that just wouldn't be possible.
And if you think about it, both of our manufacturing teams today spend a double-digit % of time just on labor overhead, on communication, and working with, frankly, really, really bad software. If we can improve that, we can save everyone time, we can reduce cost, and ultimately deliver a better product.
That's incredible, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Nikhil, thank you so much for joining us. Excited to hear more over the rest of AIP Con.
Thanks for having me.